Here with their reaction, Chris Sweatker, former FBI assistant director, and Jonathan Fahey, former acting ICE director and former federal prosecutor. Jonathan, tonight there's a lot of questions about vetting. How this guy got into the United States. President Trump addressed it yesterday. Let's watch.
U.S. officials say that the suspect worked very closely with the CIA in Afghanistan for years, that he was vetted, and the vetting came up clean.
He went cuckoo. I mean, he went nuts. And that happens, too. It happens too often with these people.
Your DOJ IG just reported this year that there was thorough vetting by DHS and by the FBI of these Afghans who were brought into the U.S. So why do you blame the Biden administration?
Because they let them in. Are you stupid? Are you a stupid person? You're just asking questions because you're a stupid person. When it comes to asylum, when they're flown in, it's very hard to get them out. No matter how you want to do it, it's very hard to get them out. But we're going to be getting them all out now.
You got to love President Trump. Are you a stupid person? To the reporter. But, you know, Jonathan, we're talking about this vetting. He went through intense vetting. The CIA senior officials said that he also was checked through the National Counterterrorism Center as well. He was clean on all checks. The group that helped resettle Afghan allies said that he underwent multiple rounds of vetting before he was granted asylum in April. But yet he shot 2 National Guards members. So what can you tell us about this vetting? Is it efficient enough?
Well, just as a whole, the vetting they were doing was wholly inadequate. They were just basically running names through databases and things like that. They weren't doing substantive interviews. And there's a clip of Alejandro Mayorkas that he's been talking to. They've been playing a lot today on Fox where he's talking about how they didn't interview people. Remember, they brought in 190,000 people after the withdrawal from Afghanistan. So there's no way you can vet any of these people. And it's also important to know what was going on in the country at the time. Biden had the border opened, so much of the resources were dealt with processing migrants at the border, so there just weren't enough really to do any meaningful vetting. And really the default should be and should have been, if you can't vet someone thoroughly enough, they don't come in. We should put American safety ahead of the interest of migrants, illegal aliens, or anything else. And the Biden administration never did that, not a single time during the entire administration.
But see, Chris, what makes me worried is, you know, this guy went through more vetting than the millions of people who came here under the Biden administration. We had a record number of people on the terror watch list that were, you know, apprehended at the southern border. So how many terrorists are in the United States right now?
Well, I'd say there are quite a few. I mean, I would call that reporter's attention to the 4 Inspector General reports that I just read that called out the inadequate vetting. They even called out the fact that DHS would issue identification to someone who self-identified. That means they came into this country with no identification whatsoever on them. And that had to be by design. I would be most suspicious of those individuals. But yet the IG verified that they issued them documents and let them travel inside the country and come inside the country and then travel wherever they wanted to go. So look, a lot of us called this out, Jonathan included, back during the Biden administration, when all these people were streaming across the border, and asylum was the program that was abused the most, in my opinion. All you had to do was say, come up with some, just some of the jargon that they've read in some of the paperwork that regarding asylum. They just spit it out, and they were granted entry into the country under some conditional basis. So that was a huge gaping hole in our national security, and it remains to this day. I mean, we said they'll be held to pay, and we're paying for it right now.
You know, but Jonathan, President Trump's trying to do something about it. He's trying to pause the visa issuance for individuals traveling on Afghan passports. He's also pledged to permanently pause migration from third world countries. The U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services said it's also going to re-examine green cards issued to individuals who have migrated from at least 19 different countries. But as we've seen time and time again, Jonathan, the courts keep trying to stop him. So, I mean, can this stuff make its way through the courts, or will it get stopped?
Yeah, he will have to fight every inch of the way. But the great thing about it is he's determined to fight this out. And if you really think about what he just announced today, it's totally common sense. Third world countries, and it's not to disparage third world countries, but there's no way to meaningfully vet people coming from these countries. And President Trump knows our immigration system should be designed to benefit Americans. And if you can't show that a migrant coming in benefits our country and doesn't pose a safety risk, they shouldn't come in. And again, like Chris was saying, with the abused asylum system under Biden, where they actually essentially encouraged people to falsely claim asylum because they knew there wasn't some widespread torture or persecution going on in our hemisphere, but they shepherded in 10 million people, and now we are going to reap the consequences in a bad way for years to come. And I hate saying it, but there's going to be more of these situations where we're going to be here, and we were all saying it back then, but it didn't matter because the Biden administration, their highest priority was shepherding in as many migrants and illegal aliens as they could because they thought that would benefit them politically, and they put the safety, national security secondary to their political agenda.
You know, it's political, and then, you know, we're also told as well that it's about empathy. You know, this individual came here under Operation Allies Welcome. A neighbor in the neighborhood where the suspect lives said it's a very liberal neighborhood. They're very welcoming. You had a lot of these Afghan refugees living there, Chris. So is that empathy going to get Americans killed?
Yeah, it is. I mean, look, the fact that this person worked with a unit that worked with the CIA doesn't impress me one bit. Many of those individuals are pure mercenaries. Many of them played both sides of the fence for their own reasons. And we're talking about a place that is a hotbed of terrorism. ISIS, Al-Qaeda, any number of other terrorist organizations. So, you know, we don't know what this guy's loyalties are, and we don't know what his mental state is. And, you know, we're not hearing anything about his motivation, but I can pretty much guarantee you when it comes out that he was angry at the United States, angry at this country that sheltered him, and that's why he did what he did. So, and maybe even groomed by other people outside the country. So, you know, empathy is great. These people, the people that truly did help us, deserve asylum. But trying to vet as many as Jonathan said, there 70,000, whatever the number is, 160,000, so quickly is impossible to do, especially from a country that has no records of anything.
Although it seems like suicidal empathy. Jonathan, we want to get your quick reaction to this because we just learned that the Trump administration is pausing all asylum decisions until they can ensure that every alien is vetted and screened. Your reaction to that, sir?
That's a great idea because we already know they weren't vetted properly. So let's do a thorough vetting, and it's a privilege to come to this country. And if we can't vet someone or have a high degree of confidence that they are going to not commit an act of terrorism or an act of violence, they should be gone. And empathy, like you're saying, empathy is one thing, but public safety goes first. And the Biden administration and the Democrats have used the empathy card to manipulate people into policies that are bad for Americans, bad for public safety, bad for national security.
Yep. Chris and Jonathan, thank you for breaking that down for us. We appreciate you both. Thank you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.